So Brian, could you repeat what you were saying about insertion sort? I completely blanked out.
I was clarifying that we can't say insertion sort is theta of n squared, but we can say it is bounded by O of n squared, big O of n squared, and
Yes.
big omega of n. Or correct?
Yes, big omega of n and big O of n squared. Very correct. Yes. The only point in time that we can say that something is bounded by big theta of n squared is the requirement that we have to have the same equation on both sides. Make sense?
Right. So I was saying, can we say either, can we say it's big O of n squared or little o of n squared or anything like that?
Yes, we can say that it is big O of n squared. That is no issue. We can always say that it is big O of n squared. We can always say that it is big omega of n. But we cannot say big theta of anything because only the only requirement is that both of those equations have been the same. Yes.
Okay, but we can say, okay, gotcha. Okay, got it.
Okay, okay. Now, while I was gone, did anyone else have any other questions about this thing? Okay, so we discussed that n factorial intuitively grows faster than 3 to the power of n, but we'll also talk about this in more detail. But let's now first provide the mathematical definition of big O. So intuitively, we have been talking about this constant c that multiplies our equation and that grows faster than our current function. But in general, what we mean by big O is big O of g of n, where g of n is the function that we're trying to approximate our function with. Where our function is f of n, there exists this opposite e is essentially means that there exists a positive constant c and some number n0 such that our function will always grow faster than 0 because there is no zero complexity, but our function will grow slower than c times g of n for all n that is larger than some particular n0 value, where this upside down a is for all. In general, we can mathematically define our big O notation as limit where n tends to infinity, where our size of our array grows till infinity. Our approximation algorithm divided by our current function should be greater than 0. If you think about it in terms of our big O notation intuitively, g of n will always grow much faster than f of n, and that is why this limit will not be 0, but it will be greater than 0. Right? It could be anything. It could be infinity. It could be a positive number, but it will always be greater than 0. Okay. Essentially, when we say that f of n equals to big O of gn, we basically mean that our function f of n belongs to the class of functions within big O of gn, where we can only multiply a constant within this function. Okay. So now let's look at a mathematical solution to a particular problem. Up till now, we have been just intuitively solving these things, but let's say that our current function grows with this particular equation, that is 3n squared plus 10 times n plus of 5. And we say that, we claim that this function is within this big O of n squared function. Now, in order to prove this, what does big O need? Big O needs that our function after some n0, n greater than n0, it has to be always grow. It has to always grow much faster than our current function. So essentially, f of n should always be smaller or equal to c times n squared, right? Where c is some constant. So given our function 3n squared plus 10n plus of 5, we can sort of say that where our largest coefficient is 10, we can say that this function will always grow slower than 10n squared plus 10n plus 10, right? Because we are just multiplying and basically we are just increasing the coefficients of our equation. So this function will always grow faster than 3n squared plus 10n plus 5. But now that we have this equation, we can always say that for any n greater than or equal to 1, this equation will always grow faster than, just make everything n squared, right? So 10n squared plus 10n squared plus 10n squared. So we have this. We make this into 10n squared, we make this into 10n squared as well. So that means that essentially this becomes 30n squared. So we can say that 3n squared plus 10n plus 5 will grow slower than 30 n squared. So that basically means that we have now a constant 30 and we have an equation n squared that when multiplied by 30, we are guaranteed that our equation n squared, some constant times n squared, will always grow faster than 3n squared plus 10n plus 5. So in this scenario, we have c equals to 30, n0 equals to 1, and in this scenario, fn will always grow smaller than cn squared. So this was the analytic approach to solving this particular equation, but we can also approach this using the limit equation, right? So we said that our limit g of n divided by f of n would be greater than 0, where g of n in our case was n squared and f of n was n squared plus 3n squared plus 10n plus 5, right? So essentially we are trying to say that limit n tends to infinity, we have this equation n squared divided by 3n squared plus 10n plus 5. And if we solve this particular limit, we see that we can take out n squared from both of them. It basically becomes 1 divided by 3 plus 10 divided by n plus 5 divided by n squared. Right, let me just type this out in case you guys are confused. This n squared divided by 3n squared plus 10n plus 5, right? We can take out n squared from the entire equation and say n squared times, we have 1 divided by 3 plus of 10 divided by n plus of 5 divided by n squared, right? And if we now make n tend to infinity, what does this mean? This n squared gets chopped off, right? Because we are multiplying both of sides by n squared, basically dividing this by n squared and dividing this by n squared, my bad. So essentially we have 1 divided by 3 plus 10 by n plus 5 by n squared. Now this entire equation part here, when n tends to infinity, this tends to 0. So essentially we have the value 1 over 3. So 1 over 3 is greater than 0, and we can say that this equation is indeed VIGO of n squared because it is greater than 0, and the requirement for VIGO is limit n tends to infinity, g of n divided by f of n has to exist greater than 0, has to have a value greater than 0. Any questions about this? Okay. Now comes big omega. Now big omega basically means the same thing but the opposite of big O. Essentially big omega of gn for a function f of n means that there exists, E again exists, there exists a positive constant c and an n0 such that c of g of n will always grow slower than f of n for some number n larger than n0. So the limit for this particular big omega is limit n tends to infinity, f of n divided by g of n is greater than 0. Big O was gn by fn, this is fn by g, right? So essentially we say that when we say fn equals to big omega of gn, we basically mean that f of n belong to the class of equations provided by big omega of gn, right? So we can take one more example for this. So let's say we are trying to bound n squared by 10, and we say that the lower limit for n squared by 10 is big omega of n. Now this is obvious to us because we know that n grows slower than n squared by 10, but that is not a mathematical proof, right? That is an intuitive proof that we know that n will be smaller than n squared. So in order to prove it mathematically, we need to use limits, or we need to basically provide a value of a constant for which n would always be slower than n squared. Okay. So we have fn equals to n squared by 10, gn equals to n. Then we can say that n will always be less than n squared by 10 when n is greater than 10, right? For all values n less than 10, so let's take 9, right? So 81, n squared is 81 divided by 10, we have 8.1. And we have n equals to 9, so at that point, n is not smaller than 8.1. But for all values greater than or equal to 10, n is going to be slower than n squared by 10. So in this case, n0 is going to be 10, c is going to be 1, and we can then say that yes, we have a value of c, we have a value of n0, and then we can say that f of n equals big omega of n. Alternatively, we can also do the limit approach, where f of n divided by g of n, limit n tends to infinity, n squared by 10 divided by n basically means n by 10. And we know that limit n tends to infinity, n divided by 10 is going to tend to infinity, right? And we know that the condition is when we have f of n divided by g of n, for the limit n tends to infinity, it has to be somewhat greater than 0, and infinity is greater than 0. So we can say that it is big omega of n. Okay, now comes big theta. Now big theta is essentially, as we said, that it has to be the same equation. Big theta basically means that a function f of n, can only be I'll type equal to here, can only be bounded by big theta of n, big theta of g of n, only when f of n is bounded by O of g of n, that is the same equation g of n, and that provides the upper bound, and f of n is also bounded by big omega of g of n. Right. So these two conditions need to hold in order for us to say that, okay, f of n is bounded by big theta of g of n. So in order to make sure that we can find out a solution for big theta, we need two constants now. One constant that provides the upper bound, C1 Gn, and the other constant that provides the lower bound, that is going, one constant that is the lower bound, C1 Gn, sorry, and the other constant that is the upper bound, C2 Gn. So we need to find two constants in this case, apart from n0, to make sure that big theta of a function exists. Or we can also say in terms of limits, that is limit n tends to infinity, f of n, that is our function, divided by g of n, has to be a number that is greater than 0, but has to be a number that is less than infinity. For our previous cases, we had c greater than 0, so it could have been 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever. It could have been infinity. But for this particular scenario, our function, our limit has to become something greater than 0 and something less than infinity. Okay. So basically this means that we have f of n that is big O of gn and f of n that is big omega of gn. Okay, so let's look at an example for proving a particular equation. So that is, let's say that we have the equation 2n squared plus n. We say that it is theta n squared. That basically means that we have one constant c1 n squared that is going to grow slower, and that is going to be smaller. And then we have to have one constant c2 that has to grow faster. If we replace c1 with 2, and you guys can do this on your own, and if we replace c2 by 3 with n0 equals to 1, we can solve this. On the other hand, we can also use the limit approach, where we have 2n squared plus n divided by n squared. Again, divide both of those sides by n squared. We have 2 plus 1 over n divided by 1. So 2 plus 1 over n basically tends to 2, right? So this is a number that is greater than 0 and less than infinity. So we can say that n squared is the average case or the theta bound of 2n squared plus n. Make sense? Any questions? Okay. So some more examples. We have n squared plus 3n plus log of n. We say that it is big O of n squared. If we want to prove this, we need to find c and n0 such that we have n squared plus 3n plus log of n should be always less than c of n squared. Right, that is how we prove that a particular function is big O of some other function. So in your exam or in your quiz, if I ask you that what is the constant when we